for community-based clinical education. We're going to be asking about that. Health science for UCLA School of Dentistry. Next one over, Dr. Lisa Wynn, Associate Director for Community-Based Clinical Education. They don't make it easy, UCLA School of Dentistry. And then finally, and this is what I've been trying to get for like 3 years, I got a newly graduated dental student here on my stage, Dr. Fernandez. Yeah, this is what I've been trying to get, finally. Yeah. It was like in June. She just graduated, Dr. Fernanda Silva, and she now works at Denver Dental. She's a resident there. So this is going to be our panel here. Everybody sit down, let's go. So I guess the way I would want to start this, because I really want to educate, when I heard about this, I was really intrigued and really interested. So I don't know, either Bill or Lisa, maybe we'll start with Bill or go to Lisa. Tell us what the program is, because we've got a lot of people here that are intrigued also about a collaboration between a dental school and a DSO, but they just don't know the basics of like what it is and how it works. So I don't know, Dr. Lisa, maybe tell us about that, or Bill, whoever's appropriate.
Ladies first.
So actually, thank you for having us here. We're really, really grateful. We really love the energy here, and I really like the theme of the New Frontier, and I think that's what we're really hoping that our dental school and DSO collaboration can continue to bring. What we currently do at this time is we send out our trainees, so whether it's our dental students or our specialty trainees, we collaborate with community partners, whether it's a DSO or like a health center, and we create rotations to where they get to learn more about real-world dentistry. They get to increase practicing on patients. And then also our community partners get to access our students and our trainees beforehand so that you can share whatever it is that you want. Did I miss anything, Bill?
Absolutely. To further expound, I have to tell you that as a dental educator, it's incumbent upon us to enlighten our students to both non-traditional and traditional paths after graduation. And oddly enough, as you all know in this room, what used to be non-traditional is becoming traditional. With the new rise of 30% of the graduating classes going into DSOs. And dental schools don't offer that opportunity, and we have the pleasure of saying that for the last 4 years we've rotated our students through 7 different DSOs, and we have some pretty powerful data points to say why we should continue this process going forward. And I have to tell you that the dental field is an ever-changing environment, and we're teaching our students to be nimble, that they have to grow with the profession and to accept all new challenges that face them going forward.
All right, so Bill and Lisa, first I want to make sure I understand the program right, then I want to talk about those data points. So it's like a rotation, almost like a residency. You'll take your dental student, and yeah, Dr. Silva, we're going to get you involved in a second, but you'll take your dental students and you'll say, this is almost like a medical school residency. We're going to send you to a DSO-supported practice, because we don't send them to DSOs, we send them to DSO-supported practices that are owned by licensed dentists, and you're going to work certain shifts and certain rotations, and you're going to learn real-world dentistry. That's the idea behind it?
Absolutely, yes. So again, with dental schools, as a lot of people who did go can remember, we don't really practice in real world. You are by yourself. You have 3 hours to 2 hours to see one patient. You have no assistants. You have no front office. So when they graduate, they have a lot of trouble because all of a sudden you're working with a dental assistant for the very first time, your very first day as a DDS or a DMD. But with our program, you get to not only practice what it would be like in the real world, but also you get to learn about the different practice models too, so that you're not shocked when you take your first job.
All right, now, go ahead.
We have 6 different practice models that we rotate our students through, and the DSO is one of the newest models. But I have to share with you that our mission statement really hasn't vacillated since 2006, and that is enhancing our students' education while increasing access to care through accountable and sustainable service. So we actually get engaged in a revenue sharing or cost offset model, but our ROI has proven that it's a benefit to the provider that accepts the affiliation, that it works out very predictably.
Well, that's what I wanted to get at. This is kind of like, well, this is when I moderate, it's kind of no nonsense, we cut right to it. This looks like, by the way, a great idea for the dental student. I mean, I'm hearing this, and I get Dr. Silva, you're going to talk in just a minute, but this is like a good idea, great real-world experience. I mean, just listening to this, I'm sold on that, but like cutting to it, why is it a good idea for a DSO to do this? Like, how does it benefit them?
Gosh, so just with, again, there's so many things that we haven't really unpaved yet. But for just a baseline program that includes these rotations or mini residencies, like you say, the DSO today, I've heard everybody talk about how we're a business of people and that mentorship is really important for the success of all of our doctors. And so for DSOs, why wait to invest in your doctors until they're in your practice? If you invest in the student before they become doctors in your practice, they'll already know so much more when they graduate, and when they're in your office and they choose you post-graduation, they'll already know what your organization is about, and they won't fail within the first month or two and then leave your practice after you work so hard to recruit them. And so basically it's accessing your doctors before they became doctors.
What kind of data points do you have, like that you were referencing?
So we've been tracking data points for 4 years, and we measure the site's proficiency, the doctor's proficiency, the student productivity, ICD-10 codes, CDT codes. We teach our students and the doctors that are preceptors the 20 most common medical conditions and the associated predicaments, so they become very comfortable in treating uncontrolled patients, medically uncontrolled patients. We track the finances. We track what is the ROI, return on investment. And I have to tell you that depending on the payer mix, our ROI is anywhere from 1.5 to 8.9 return on the original contracted daily rate.
So Dr. Silva, now this is a real treat having you here. I know I just met you a few minutes ago and you rearranged your schedule to get over here, and that probably wasn't easy because you started working there. You're like, I know I've been here like 2 weeks, but I'm gonna leave and go over here and see like drone show and stuff. It probably wasn't great, but I'm really glad that you're here. Let me ask a couple questions. I'm gonna talk about this program, but for educational purposes for the audience, what do dental students think of DSOs?
Before going to the rotation, you always have like the cliche that DSOs is not as good as private practice. But after going to my rotation, that completely changed. And that's mostly because I was able to rotate in 5 practices for the same Aspen organization, which is the owner was Dr. Miller. He was excellent. I was able to see how happy the patients were and also the associates. I was able to talk to each associate because each office had its own associate. So they kind of told me like how that misconception can be said, and now that completely changed my mind. I was able to rotate in a DSO, community health center, and also private practice, and out of the 3, the DSO was the one that I enjoyed the most. Just to tell you how much the students want to go there, it's like everybody tries to compete to go there, and I got really, really blessed to go there.
All right, I'm gonna keep picking on you a little bit. I've been trying to get a newly graduate or a dental student on my stage for 3 years, so I'm gonna get a few more questions for you. How did you learn, about DSOs, whether it's right or wrong, whether there's a misconception that it's not as good as a private practice that's unaffiliated with a DSO? What is your source of knowledge? Meaning, is it just students gossiping, or how do you hear these things in dental school?
Well, it was like gossiping, you will say like horror stories, but it will be like the friend of the friend of the friend. And some of my ideas kind of changed when I went to conferences, the American Student Association or like Hispanic Student Association. You will talk to the reps, but you always have that doubt, like what if? You've never been in one. And after being in one, I know that that's completely erroneous misconception.
So it sounds like you had a great experience. If I'm understanding you right, you went to an Aspen-supported office in Michigan, and it sounds like you had a terrific experience.
Definitely. Dr. Miller was amazing from the beginning. He was very structured, and also the main reason I loved it is because we were rotating in 5 different locations in Michigan, and these locations are underserved locations. So a lot of the times patients would come in that wouldn't be able to afford it. And because we were the students, I was able to work on patients that couldn't afford it, and it was like a way for him to do pro bono work without having to step out of his practice.
All right, Dr. Barry, now it's your turn. All right. How do the economics work in this thing?
The economics on this, there is a return on investment. It's not a high return, but that's okay because some of the students take to it very quickly. Some of it takes a little bit of time, and we're not doing this really for a profit center. We're doing it because we want to give back to the students, give back to the school, provide some more extra care, and help train the doctors that are going to be graduating soon. Give them an opportunity to come and see what the real world looks like. It is a really wonderful experience, and we really have been enjoying the different personalities and the different students that have been coming through. And we tell them, you know, don't be afraid. Go ahead. You have backup with your mentor doctors, and continue on. And think of this as a stage for you to be doing a working interview almost, and seeing what you can do, what can we help them with, and how can we provide services for patients.
So how long have you been participating in the program?
It's going to start on 2 years.
Okay.
We met Bill through another acquaintance, and at first I was a little hesitant, but then when I saw that Bill's outlook from the dental school, he is pro DSO. He believes in that. He sees the future of dentistry for the students when they come out, that they'll probably be working with the DSO. I bought into it, I believed it, and then I saw that it really works, and we were very happy with it.
All right, so you get assigned some students that come to your office. Is that how does that? We're going to go through this in detail. We got some time, and I really think this is a neat thing. So we're going to go through some details here. How do you get the students?
So every few weeks, we get 2 students per location.
Okay.
And they do a 3-week rotation. They work with one of the doctors that are credentialed, because there's a process. It's just not everyone can say, oh, sign me up. You have to get credentialed through UCLA. You have to be a on-staff doctor with UCLA. You get a badge. You're one of the providers, and then the office gets credentialed, and then we're ready to get started. So it's not automatic, you know, just sign us up, we'll send you people. They want to make sure it's the right fit and it's the right students, and that's how we get started.
Now, do you, if I understood, we talked a little bit about this before we got on stage, do you pay the students an hourly rate or something like that?
So
how does that work?
there's a stipend that's flexible depending on how far the location is, because there's a couple locations where they stay overnight at a hotel. But there's a pre-agreed stipend that is very reasonable. It's, you know, something that is very reasonable, and they work out. And in these offices, what we do is we have 2 students, and one student assists the other student with the guidance of one of the doctors. That way, it doesn't really take away from the auxiliary staff. And they learn from each other, and they help. You know, one person assists, one person does the work, then they switch off.
And do you, Dr. Barry, do you bill out their work, or is it just a supervising doctor, or how does
The supervising doctor handles all that. There's a whole credentialing process, and we work under the UCLA umbrella for legal aspects that go along with it. So we do get the revenue for the work that they do, and at the end, it works out okay. It's not a huge revenue center, but it's okay. It works out well. And then we also have access to UCLA's. Anything UCLA, we have access to it. So if we need training for not only the associate doctors, the students, our doctors need some extra training on endodontics. Well, he has a whole team of people that can come out, train, CE classes, any type of research from the prosthodontic department that we need.
Will they train your dentists? I mean, I'm not talking about the students. They'll train
our dentists.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an associated fee, which is very reasonable. But imagine that you're now under the UCLA umbrella, and you can now have access to all this extra training that is amazing.
Bill, how was it hard to sell this? I mean, I asked Dr. Silva, and I've got some more questions for her in a second, but about her impressions of DSOs. You know, we talked in the past about you had to sell, at least initially, or do a proposal to, you know, UCLA as to why this was a good idea. How do they think about DSOs at UCLA?
Well, my transition from my previous institution to UCLA is the reason why I left, is because the president dean just said, I'm bringing the dental school to the community, and everything's on the table. Okay. and he's open-minded, and that's not the fact of most dental schools. So there's still this nuance that DSOs are evil, and then 4 years of data, I can share with them that they're not so evil. So Fernanda, for instance, probably did her entire dental school requirements in 6 weeks, okay? I mean, she was very productive. And I'm very proud to say that we analyzed the student graduating class services at the school. And in those 6 weeks, and I'm hoping to get it to 12 weeks soon, I have to tell you that we have doubled the restorative, tripled the surgical, and increased endodontics by 100%. So I will say, if you're paying the same amount of money, would you rather go to the school that did 10,000 restorations or 3,000 restorations? You know. So I just want to let you know is that we still have some way to go, but not all dental schools are poised to work with DSOs. But we have now identified 21 that are interested, and we had been contacted over 40 DSOs that are interested in participating.
So Lisa, if I'm understanding this correctly, you've got, I may not be an expert on this, but I'm kind of getting the drift here. You've got requirements to graduate, procedures and things you have to do. Dr. Silver's saying, yeah, absolutely. And you can sort of, I guess, at a slower pace, do it at UCLA, or get like a crash course by going to a residency where you might, if you just stayed at UCLA and you had to do a certain amount of extractions, that could take several weeks or a few months to get those requirements done. But Dr. Silva, you're going to tell me you went right into an office and knocked that out like in a couple weeks, right?
Yes, definitely. Like the requirement at UCLA, we are like a case and competency wise. So we only do 6 at UCLA. And when I went to Michigan, I did 200 extractions. Compared to a lot of my classmates, they just look at me like I'm crazy because a lot of them might be able to graduate with like 10, 20, if they didn't go to like the right locations. Each location has different strengths. Some of them are stronger in endo, some of them are stronger in extractions, but I know like at Aspen, I was able to do everything. And there was a day that I was able to do 12 to 14 patients, which at UCLA, that would be crazy. We only see 2 patients at a time.
So, I mean, this is probably going to come across as a stupid question, but it's, it's your words, not mine. Do you think as a result of this program, you were a much more advanced clinician than if you hadn't gone through this program?
Yeah, definitely. Like right now, I'm at Denver Health, so we get to see a lot of complex patients and we get to work really fast. For me, it was like, okay, I'm ready. I can just go and do it. For a lot of my classmates and co-residents, it wasn't as intuitive, but every person has different learning curves, and definitely my learning curve is, I'm already above.
So, you're over at you're at Denver Dental right now. Are there other sort of new associate dentists there too?
Yeah, so we're 10 residents.
And are you totally kicking their ass in terms of your skill set versus theirs?
What was the question, sorry?
I'll say it again. You compared to the other new associates that didn't go through this program, are you totally kicking their ass? I mean, you're a way better clinician than they are.
I mean,
Go ahead, this is your friends here. No time to be modest here. They might get a job out here someday, so.
I mean, I know for sure in extractions and restorations, I was able, like they're giving us 2 hours because we're just starting. And for me, it's like, oh, I'm done in 40 minutes, I'm done in 30 minutes. And I'm not saying like doing 1 restoration, I'm able to do 2 to 3 restorations at a time, do 2 to 3 extractions, be able to deal with very difficult, anxiety-ridden patients. And it is because I got really good training.
Do you like Denver Dental, or do you think you might want another job?
I don't know yet.
This is a heck of a job fair out here.
Okay.
I know the lights are a little bright, but there's like over 1,000 people out there. There's a shortage of, dental students, dental associate dentists and things like that. So just mentioning that.
Okay, I will be waiting for those calls in a year.
All right, so Bill, I mean, this sounds interesting to me. I mean, I'm not in a position, I don't run a DSO, but it sounds really intriguing to me. So maybe we can spend a little bit of time talking about how you do this. Like if somebody, DSO, is listening to this and they want to get involved and they want to participate, like step by step, how does that work?
So first is a casual conversation to talk the pros and cons, and then after our conversation, we give a 30,000-foot overview about the do's and don'ts and expectations on all sides. We send an affiliation agreement for all the attorneys to look at. Then we send a credentialing packet for all the doctors that want to come on board and all the requirements and then they're given a adjunct clinical educator appointment. We have a 3-month pilot program. At the end of 3 months, we then evaluate the data to make sure it's working for everyone, and then we decide whether we're going forward or not. Presently, our students go off for 2 3-week rotations. At my previous institution, we did 3 4-week rotations. There are dental schools that do 25-week, and I have to tell you, the newer dental schools are poising themselves to actually spend half of the year out. So first step is, if you want to learn how to do this, just reach any one of our team members. There's 2 others in the audience, Dr. Steve Lee and Kyle Tupaz. If you want to reach out anyone, we can send you the affiliation agreement for your review. And if you want to work with another dental school, and our entire intent is to centralize the processes to make it easier to engage. Because I really want different dental schools to be at the same locations, because if somebody's doing it better, I want to know why.
Now, how many total dental students do you have in class at UCLA?
We're rotating 113, so 80-some traditional, and then 20-some international.
Okay, and how many are available to participate in this program?
Well, right now I'm rotating 24 per day, every day for 3 weeks in a row. When we had a program at the previous institution, we also included the later portion of the 3rd year, so we were rotating 54 students a day.
Well, and how many DSOs would that be? I mean, how many DSOs? I mean, I'm just trying to supply and demand here. How many DSOs?
So to make it easier on someone like Barry, for instance, we guarantee this scholastic school year for participation. By law, we have to just follow the academic calendar. However, with the diverse nature, we now see our students going during Christmas because of the diversity of religions and everything. You know, one might need to go during Christmas, one may not. So I just want to let you know is that we try to fulfill an entire calendar year, but we guarantee at least 42.
And is there any harm in, extending it beyond 6 weeks? I mean, I'll tell you something. If I'm looking at this right now and I got to get an extraction, I'm going to Dr. Silva. Now, none of you can't touch me ever. You'd be the last one. I do it myself, Barry, before, anything like that. But is there any harm to extending it beyond, 6 weeks so they just really even get more competent?
Yeah, so number one is we have to follow the curriculum committee. I like to recognize Dr. Jack Dillenberg in the audience. He's right in the front row here. He designed a curriculum that allowed many more weeks right from the get-go. But when you're trying to change the culture at a school, getting the curriculum committee to advance more. But I have to tell you, everything is driven by Fernanda. Those students at both universities, 86% of the graduating class said this was the most valuable experience they had. So consequently, the dean wants to be happy, so he's growing the program.
When was the last time you did an extraction?
I had one done before I came here for myself, but before that,
Sound like an actual live
it's
patient,
been a couple of years.
not a cadaver?
No, a couple of years.
All right, I have you here. We might as well talk about that for a second. Why not? Dr. Silva, I want to ask you this because, again, getting somebody that just graduated here, I've really been trying to get somebody to get on stage for a long time. What do you want to do? I mean, the folks here, they want to know this. Like, right now you're at Denver Dental and you went through this really successful residency, but what do you think the next 5 or 10 years might be for you? What interests you and what type of job do you think you want to have?
Well, I want to work in practice. It all depends. The thing is, one of the advice that I got from one of the associates at Aspen is that you have to kind of look at the director, and the director will set the environment. So having a really good environment in which I can fit, that will be my ideal. And then hopefully, on top of working, I would like to also teach at a dental school. Hopefully UCLA, we will see.
You want to teach at a school maybe?
Oh yeah.
Do you know, and have you been told, and it's totally okay if you don't, but this is just fascinating having you here. Do you know some of the opportunities that might be available to you if you work for a DSO, maybe, ownership, or are you guys educated on this or not?
Yes, I mean, when I was with Dr. Miller, I was able to learn all that information. Just to give you an idea, we were talking one of the days and they were saying oh yeah, there's an implant CE in Mexico where you can place so many implants. I also got to learn some of the locations where I can learn implants. Dr. Miller goes every month to Alabama to a program to kind of learn how to place implants. And he said that because he is with Aspen, he's able to get discounts and be able to be on top of his stuff. And also he has the top of the notch technology, like he was using like the scanners to be able to educate the patients, and he had the lab on spot in the clinic, which is amazing because a lot of times to be able to give the best service to the patient, you need to talk to your technicians. So it was amazing. It was like almost like you have well comprehensive care for the patients. And we're talking about patients that they're not like high income, like they were all the spectrum from low income to middle income to high income, all kinds of ethnicities. It was definitely eye-opening.
And did you get to use any real innovative technology?
Oh yes, I was able to scan an RPD case, also like some of the crowns that I prepped. I was able to scan them, they allowed me. Normally assistants get to do it, but I got to play with it as well. And I also use it for like educating the patients. And they were telling me soon they're going to use that to be able to provide dentures and print them. They're in the process of doing that, but definitely it was eye-opening.
And did you feel also that, I'm only marginally interested about you guys, but Dr. Silva, I'm really interested in this. Did you feel like you got some education about the business side of the practice? Because usually, dental school doesn't teach you anything about that. And did you feel like you learned something about the business side of the practice?
Yeah, definitely. The nice thing about Aspen is that they treat me like an employee. So when they had meetings about like talking about production and how to be a better team, I was there. I was there during the entire time. If they had CEs, I was invited to those as well. Because at the time, it was in September 2021, yeah, 2021. So still like some of the CEs offered by Aspen were like online, so I was able to like watch them. But like before, previous of my dental classmates were able to attend live CEs.
And they sort of treated you as if you were like a new associate there.
Definitely, and I was introduced to the patients. I was still introduced as a trainee under Dr. Miller, but like every time, like the patients were so grateful, so excited, and they would ask me about my experiences. It was definitely really enjoyable. For me, it wasn't like working, it was like a dental vacation.
That's really good to hear. And you said this earlier, but I want to just reiterate it. Did it really change your impression from the gossip you heard in dental school about DSOs?
Definitely, like I said, like I was talking to one of the associates and he was very honest. He was like, a lot of my classmates kind of mislead themselves and went to private practice. And he just hears that some of them receive emails in the middle of the night saying you didn't have enough production. And we're talking about private practice. So, and he's in a DSO, he says like he's having so great time, and Dr. Miller is an excellent mentor, and that's one of the things that I felt that Aspen was offering as well, and I'm sure a lot of other DSOs do as well. They offer mentorship, and they're willing to help you get there wherever you need to be.
How many states are you licensed in?
How many what, sorry?
States are you licensed in?
I took the rep. I'm planning to do 2. I'm in the process right now.
Okay. So, Bill, what are your plans for this? Or Lisa, too, whoever is better suited to answer, what are your plans? I mean, you were telling me, I think, Bill, you were looking at maybe doing something with University of Michigan or like some type of collaboration, even among the dental students to replicate this program. Or tell me what the plans are. Because, look, if this gets the interest that it's going to get, they're going to blow through 113 students really quickly. So,
I would love to start off. I think Bill had mentioned this earlier. We've talked to at least 21 dental schools about our program. So most of the 70 dental schools in the U.S. have some type of similar program, but not. I think Bill calls it. It's not your spring vacation, right? Not a dental vacation either. But really, we have talked to at least 21 dental schools about our specific model, about our performance metrics as well. And we're actually we're helping 3 dental schools start up rotations with DSOs. Because again, at UCLA, we only have 100 and some trainees. And so we want to be able to standardize processes and have really big data across different dental schools too. Because right now, dental schools measure it differently. And so if we imagine how powerful it would be if we had 20 or 60 dental schools who had a rotation, who collected the same information, and we would be able to do QI like crazy. And so that's what we are trying to do so that we can also help shorten the learning curve for dental schools who want to do it, for DSOs who also want to join. And again, it's a really great opportunity for maybe doctors who are in practices supported by DSOs where they wanted to teach, but they just don't have the time to be able to drive all the way to a dental school. They can now be the mentors that they're great at doing in the comfort of their own practices. So long term is that we want to have all dental schools utilize a similar model. And then another thing that I would really love for not just our DSO supported offices, but all of our community partners is to create information for our students to know who you are. What's the pulse of your dental office, your community center, the people that you serve? So before they even go to rotate as a student, they'll already know your mission, your vision, your values, how they're going to belong, if they're going to belong. So again, once they graduate, they've already experienced at least 2 or 3 practice models. So when they're choosing you, they already have enough information to know that this is where I want to be. They're not just taking it because it's the first job available in their neighborhood.
I mean, you guys, I'm not going to tell you what to do or write a business proposal right now, but you could manage this for other dental schools and turn it into a profit center. I mean, just listening to this will give you a free consultation here. I mean, you could probably do that with the other dental schools because you've got the blueprint for how to do this.
So thank you for that segue, but that is truly our intent.
That's some free $800 an hour advice.
Right.
But I just...
Talk to Lisa.
All right, so that's where the brains are. Yeah, so just back, I can
So
think like...
what I'll share with you is the entire intent is to create an academic dental support organization to help bridge universities with healthcare delivery models. And I have to tell you, when I first started this, it was the salesmanship. After all the data, I just said, talk to the dental director and see if it's worth your participation. And the program is growing very rapidly. And I have to tell you, I'm really looking forward to centralizing the systems, the processes that we have developed over the years. I mean, we went from paper to docking stations to web-based and now cloud-based. And Lisa can put up her phone right now and tell us what student A is doing at this clinic this minute.
Well, because I mean, that's going to be a question, right? Can your students, I'm just thinking about this like from a regulatory standpoint, can your students right now, if you have 113 students at UCLA, they can do this, I guess they can do this residency everywhere. You did it in Michigan, so even though, because they probably don't have any dental license yet, because they're still students, so they can go to any affiliated office in the country, would that be right?
Yeah, so we check quota compliance and state board regulations, and there's just a couple states that make it very difficult, but as we're basically credentialing these doctors as clinical educators, as faculty, and that's what every dental school has to do for the liability protection. So we're giving you a protected working interview. So for those that are interested, I'm not asking you to find new money to participate. Redirect your recruitment dollars to this effort, and I will pay off algorithmically.
Did you get Dr. Barry credentialed as like some type of clinician teacher?
He's happy, that's why.
I think this was going to be well, and we had a lot of credibility, and we might have lost some of it there. But Dr. Barry, really, this is now getting, we're going to have to maybe stop. But Dr. Barry, tell me what the key feature of why you're a big fan of this program. You've told me that over and over again. What's been the deciding factor for you for why you're a big fan of this?
You know, 30 years ago when I started, I don't know if I would have been involved with the program to give back. Now, as we've matured a little bit more, we felt giving back was something that was important for us. Put that with the program that Bill has put in place, someone that is business-minded, DSO minded. After our first conversation, we were a little bit weary, and as we got to know each other, as like a friendship, we learned that it's a great program for us. We're able to showcase, these graduating students or the GPR residents in our offices, provide care for other areas that are underserved, and give back not only to the patients that need to be seen, and give back to the students as well. When I was in dental school, we would fight for patients. Who's going to get that root canal patient? Who's going to get that extraction patient? Here, it's all available to them. So it's been working out very well, and we keep looking at ways of growing it, making it better. What can we do? And we don't have all of our offices credentialed because you have to have your doctors that are there buy into the program that they're going to be overseeing students. So some doctors may not be the right fit for that, and a lot of them are. And after we have a talk with them, we really enjoy that. And my biggest joy is when they walk in bright-eyed and the first day, and I give them a little pep talk. Tell them that you're not in dental school now. You know, you're in the land of Oz. You're in an area where it's business now. But learn, don't be afraid. You have backup for everything. We want you to do the best that you can do. They learn our software program. So they're going out to different offices, they're learning different software, they're learning how every office runs, how do we handle emergencies, things like that. It's been a great experience, and we want to continue and add it to all our locations.
And so you made a good point. So one limiting factor might be if you've got, for example, I think around 25 locations. If one of your practice owners or one of your principal dentists is just maybe not a good mentor or not good mentorship material, maybe that one office might not be well suited for this.
You're right, and not everyone is made for this. Not all the doctors. I have a new idea that we're going to talk with Bill about, where we have one doctor that does general dentistry, and she travels to different offices. Maybe we can have the student travel to different offices, get a different flavor, and see how that works out. So that's another thing that we're going to be discussing soon. So it's limitless what you can do. There's no boundaries on things that make sense for the office, for the student, for the school. So we're working out different things to make sure that we partner the right doctors with the right students.
So Bill and Lisa, if we get a lot of demand for this and everybody's interested in this, we could a year from now, if we invite you back or something like that, we might have a situation where UCLA is managing a dozen or more dental schools, and you've got those programs are affiliated through you. UCLA will affiliate those programs, and then they got to make one phone call to you, and you can just sort of, assign these students across all these dental schools, it sounds like.
Yes, so centralizing the processes, all the dental schools need is one faculty member and one admin analyst. And our centralization, we can manage the data and put the affiliation agreements and actually formulate the process, okay? But I will share with you that most importantly is we talk out loud in our group. We're in the fun zone, and I have to tell you, we're now looking at, and we have not only created programs for our fourth-year students, but residents and our faculty to go out into these clinics, okay? And if we notice through our profiles in the clinic that there's some shortcoming, like maybe one of the doctors doesn't like doing extractions, we'll educate them if they want on how to be better at that. But I have to tell you that in my feeling is dental students at every level are the most underutilized asset that communities have. They could be doing health fairs in year one, they could be doing restorations and prevention in year two, they could be doing exodontia and even endodontics in year 3 and 4. So going forward, I have to tell you that let's use it, because I don't call it a cheap workforce, I call it valuable and affordable. And that's where I'm at.
Well, and this is just one other thing I should have asked. You'll send first-year students out too? I mean,
We haven't
not
yet.
just fourth-year students?
We haven't yet, but we have sent fourth and third year.
Fourth, and right now it's fourth and third, but I guess what you're saying, there's no reason you couldn't even send a first-year out.
And again, we've helped with health fairs. We have done community service projects. We actually teach our students how to do philanthropic programs, where we actually had the local health departments pay for the materials and the use and abuse of the clinic. And I said, you're a health department. I'm just a tool. We're here to give back to the community, and you have to figure out how to pay for the use of these facilities. And I mean, there's nothing that we haven't tried. And I have to tell you, to make it simple, if the DSO offers to help a segment of the population that is underserved or needs help, or treats Medicaid, I have to tell you that those are the first ones that we gravitate to, because that's the easiest sell to the deans of other dental schools, is giving back. Because deans that are really not supportive of DSOs, they are afraid of alumni support. But you know what? If you are serving the underserved communities in some capacity, even if it's a day a month, it works.
So I know you and Lisa are hanging around here, so you'll be at the reception tonight. If you want to come up and, Dr. Silva, I can't tell you what to do, but I'll tell you something. If you hang around and come to this reception, my prediction is you're going to have a bunch of job offers. You're going to be probably way better than what you have right now. But thank you so much for coming here. I've waited a couple of years to get a dental graduate here, so Dr. Silva has been an honor, and the rest of you was nice, but really honored to have Dr. Silva here. Thanks, everybody. This was our panel on dental school.